Cat, and welcome to another episode of Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. We are going to check in on our young little Brujah fledgling, Eric. So, let's see how he's been doing. Kadir al-Asamai, the sheriff of New York City, is knocking at the door to your haven. The sight comes as more than a little shocking. If he had business with you, you'd either expect to see him already inside, or never see him coming at all. Yet there he is, on the other side of the peephole, patiently and politely waiting for you to let him in. You carefully unlock the door and face him in silence. "Evening, may I come in?" You simply stare at him. Your lack of an answer doesn't faze him, and your lack of resistance as he starts walking inside has obviously been interpreted as a permission. Once inside, he starts looking around as you cautiously stay by the door. Haven't really had the time to make this place your own yet, have you? It feels like Langley's apartment through and through. A secluded study where nobody studies anything. Look at the books on the shelf, obviously meant to impress guests, not to be read. They reveal nothing about their owner, aside from the aching desire to be taken seriously as an intellectual. He picks one of them up and smirks before putting it away. The Phenomenology of Spirit, next to all this garbage poetry. We can make a bet. If she's read more than 20 pages, I owe you $50 and a gallon of blood. The kind of place that self-professed hermits entomb themselves in to suffer. Considering how much you have to run around these nights, you probably only use it as shelter from the sun and rest, right? Even though he's obviously making an effort to come off as non-threatening, it's impossible to forget the first impression he made. You still see him as a fierce predator, trying hard to expose his true colors. You sense a familiar fight or flight response as you struggle to find a diplomatic answer to his last question. If Kadir is bothered by your silence, he doesn't let it show. He keeps walking around, toying with whatever catches his eye. Eventually, he speaks again. "Watch any baseball lately?" If I had to guess, you strike me as a Red Sox fan. Now he's inviting you to talk in a more direct manner. You attempt to overcome your physical reaction to him and reply as casually as you can. Your mind keeps going back to the night when everything has changed forever. Waking up in hell with a body next to you. Spending a night in that underground sweatbox, unsure of what will happen next. That endless car ride, 3 strikes, a bloodthirsty crowd, that blade, a rebirth, a baptism by fire, a frightening executioner who made sure the flames scarred your spirit. As you look into his face, you realize he's read the emotions from you. Not in the mood to exchange pleasantries. There's no animosity in his voice. He's just stating fact. Let me get straight to the point then. He momentarily stops caring about his surroundings, turning all his attention to you and demanding the entirety of your attention in return. You see, there's something I've realized over the years. In large part, I may have been hired just to look menacing with a sword, but my job is all about seeing through bonds and relationships. The Camarilla would be safe as long as its members adhered to certain social contracts, making their dealings and affinities plain for everyone to see. But that, obviously, remains a pipe dream. This is a community of born conspirators. Overly ambitious gangsters and politicians, monsters in denial, all sorts of tragically broken individuals. They are driven by desire that make them incompatible with the masquerade, incompatible with prolonged survival of the Camarilla, incompatible with the methods I use to operate. And so, I am doomed to be like a cop, constantly insulted behind my back, maybe for a good reason, but immediately called for help whenever someone loses their tableware. Or like an Agatha Christie protagonist, outwardly assisted by everyone, but constantly lied to about everyone's past and motivations. Even if my failure to solve the mystery might be the end of us all. He tries to sound like he's peacefully resigned to his fate, but it's easy to detect a tinge of regret in his voice. A voice belonging to someone who once had bigger ambitions than this. What broke him? So, you see, for this detective, the why done it is far more important than who done it or how done it. When you understand all the players and their mutual obligations, you easily understand every crime. But of course, the kindred know it, so they devise ways to make my job much harder, just like conspiracies between two unrelated actors that depend on scratching each other's backs for mutual security. Or they enforce a blood bond to make someone unexpected their thrall. A boss serving their employee, a rebel serving a tyrant, just because one is regularly being forced to drink another's blood. What has Sophie seen in you? Why does the prince keep asking me about your actions? How come you're being pushed to build your own coterie so fast? You're surrounded by unclear motivations which you yourself don't understand. That unnerves me, and it should unnerve you as well. Oh, and what are your motivations? Finally, you manage to raise your voice. Kadir notices the effort and smiles softly. So, you haven't gone mute since the last time I saw you. Good. Well, I'm here for a selfish reason. I need to develop a rapport with you to better fulfill my obligations. The last time we met, I couldn't see you as my equal. Now that you've been accepted into the Camarilla, what choice do I have? I understand that you didn't want to see my face again, but I'm one of the faces of the New York City community. And as long as you're part of it, it's going to be impossible to avoid me. Especially when I have business with you, and I do. As you might have guessed by now, one of my tasks is uncovering and understanding your bonds, and one of them might endanger our community. Well, that's not menacing at all. Who's he talking about? You mean someone I'm trying to recruit into my coterie? Katir shakes his head. I'm monitoring them, and they know it. If they're breaking the rules, they're doing it the right way, meaning I haven't learned about it yet. Unless you might want to share something. A moment of awkward silence. Joking, mostly. He produces a file from underneath his coat and passes it to you. This is our troublemaker. You open the file and see some printed photos. You freeze up as you recognize the face and are overwhelmed by the flood of repressed memories. Jessica Lau, the woman who made the last few years of your life heaven, and the last few weeks a living hell. Since she took pretty much everyone you knew with her after the split, you thought the transition to this life would be painless. No baggage at all. Have you thought wrong? You look up at Kadir, expecting answers. There are some unfortunate rumors that you committed suicide after a messy breakup. So apparently, Miss Jessica here is desperately mobilizing everyone she knows to look for you. Turns out she's connected to a lot of people who might recognize you, including some in law enforcement agencies. The risk of endangering us is relatively low, but far from non-existent, which means she must be stopped. Must be stopped. Sounds threatening. You dread thinking of what he's planning. I'll arrange for you two to meet tomorrow so that you can straighten the situation out and say goodbye to the life you've forsaken. He'll arrange what? Your eyes must look like saucers right now. Usually these matters are left to my discretion, and I can't think of an easier solution. The lost sheep reappears, takes care of unfinished business, and disappears never to be seen again. Nobody cares. It's simple, it's clean. No contrived schemes, no unnecessary victims. And it gives me the opportunity to learn more about you as I observe. When neonates interact with the kind they used to hold dear, their true natures are laid bare for everyone to see. Of course he's invested in being kind to you, or he's making clear his self-serving intentions so that you don't start figuring them out yourself. Any objections? Any alternatives are probably worse. You shake your head. Very well. I'll arrange a meeting and drive you there tomorrow. Better come up with a load of bull that's easy to swallow. He disappears from the apartment, leaving you as confused as the last time he closed the door on you. God damn it, you need to think it through. For a long time you just sit in your haven, lost in your thoughts, remembering how you once thought your world had ended with her leaving. Whining, sure, but seems like it was prescient whining. Let's find out how our Agathon is doing. Juno, the notes. You find the mystery of Agathon's research tantalizing enough to pay him a visit. You know what to expect when you return to the small bookstore serving as Agathon's haven. The cacophony of occult imagery assaults you from the book-covered displays on the window. But under the fake facade, there's something real. This time the Buddhas and the satanic Bible of the storefront seem almost funny. Or perhaps you've just started to tune it into a dry humor of the Tremere. Just as you're about to ring the doorbell, the door opens and Agathon storms out. You step aside just in time to avoid having him stumble into you. Eric, what are you doing here? Look, I came to help you, like last time. Okay, fine, you're right. Follow me. As he turns to go, Agathon almost looks pleased that you're here. Agathon walks to his car, with you in tow. It didn't occur to you last time, but it's a surprisingly pedestrian vehicle. An aging mid-size family sedan. You imagine what it would look like, with a baby seat in the back. Opening the door on the driver's side, Agathon notices your look. Laugh all you want, but it's inconspicuous and practical. You sit in the car and Agathon starts driving in his usual careful style. At least you'll never be stopped by traffic cops. It seems Agathon is not interested in small talk. I love a good mystery as much as the next vampire, but at some point you have to tell me what we're doing. Let me ask you a question in return. Have you ever tasted animal blood? From sheep, for example. New York is not the best place to hunt for wildlife, you know. You'd be surprised. There are plenty of pigeons, rats, dogs, cats. But your instinct is correct. Animal blood tastes vile. If it didn't, our unlives would be very different. Anyway, something to think about. You exit Manhattan over the Brooklyn Bridge and soon reach the site of the nightclub that seems to be your destination. It's on the riverfront, a converted former warehouse. With a start, you recognize the place. The club where fate latched its cold, grubby hands onto your soul. You wanted to party, but instead, you became a monster. How's that for a hangover? After Agathon parks the car, it's time for you to enter the nightclub. You glance at the Tremere, evaluating him. It's obvious this is not his kind of place. There's a good chance the research notes are here. So we're looking for research notes. Yes, and that's all you need to know. There's a line into the club. It looks like a popular night, even if, based on the crowd, this is not exactly a place for supermodels and celebrities. You walk up to the man at the door and smile. Hey, you remember me, right? Mind if we go in? The bouncer looks at you, taken in by your supernatural charisma. It doesn't matter whether he really remembers you or not. Sure. Go right in. Have a great night. You walk into the club, ignoring all the people standing in line. The music beats down on you, bringing with it memories of a human existence. The first time you went dancing with friends. When you flirted with someone on the dance floor. But this time it's different. You're a predator and everyone around you is prey. Tightly packed, twitching sacks of blood and tissue. You sense the emotions all around you. Blood, tinted with happiness, lust, rage, jealousy, love. A buffet of sensations. Focus. Keep an eye out for trouble while I look for what we came for. You nod and follow Agathon through the throng, trying to ignore all the warmth, flesh, and circulating blood around you. Eyes on the prize, you came here to help Agathon, and that's what you'll do. Agathon wades through the dancing people with purpose. But you have no idea how he is searching for missing research notes. Perhaps he's using the enhanced senses of a vampire or some esoteric sorcery. At least he seems to know what he's doing. Juno. You swerve to avoid a drunken man who was just about to spill a beer onto you and try to see what Agathon is looking at. A young woman, intense, purposeful. A little out of place at a nightclub, just like you and Agathon. Who's Juno? She's Tremere, a renegade. Bad news. The woman, Juno, elbows a drunken man out of her way and points a finger at Agathon's face. Agathon, you traitor! Don't you dare stand between me and what's mine. You look at the woman in surprise. Her appearance stands in contrast with the anger of her words. Juno, you know Aisling will not let you leave with the notes. Perhaps she won't let you leave at all. Juno pulls close to Agathon's face and stage whispers loudly enough for you to hear her over the music. You're still so brainwashed that you care about what Aisling fucking Sturbridge wants. I'm done jumping through her hoops. I don't know what I saw in you, Agathon. You're such a lapdog. Sorry to interrupt, but, is this woman your ex? Yes. We used to date. Maybe we still would if you weren't such a fucking coward, Agathon. That's not fair, Juno. It's fair, and you know it. You're too busy licking Aisling's boots to realize what we had. Aisling doesn't wear boots. Don't correct me. With a start, you realize Juno is genuinely upset. It's hard to say how long ago they broke up, but the wounds are still there. You're the kind of man who takes the side of his boss over his girlfriend. Juno's eyes glisten red with the blood of her tears. You look at Agathon with uncertainty. It was for your own good. Juno steps back, suddenly cold, ignoring the people dancing all around. She stares hard at Agathon. The past is past. The traditions are dead to me. You won't stop me, Agathon. I'll make sure of that here and now. You know I have the power. No, Juno, please. Agathon sounds panicked. He's not worried about his own survival, but of the possibility that Juno is going to unleash a genuine masquerade breach. Calling on the powers of your blood, you step closer to Juno, between her and Agathon. Agathon was being an asshole. Don't hurt yourself just to get back at him. He's not worth it. Juno looks you in the eyes, and you can see that she's tired and scared. Defecting from the Tremere is not easy or safe. You're right. She turns to go, then stops and glances back at you. You should pick better friends. With that, Juno walks through the oblivious dancers towards the exit. Looking around, you realize that Agathon didn't stay to witness your exchange with Juno. Instead, he worked his way around the dancing crowd, looking for the notes, using his arcane methods. After Juno is gone, he returns, shaking his head. The notes were here, but not anymore. It's possible someone grabbed them when they hunted here. After making sure Juno is nowhere to be seen, you and Agathon push your way back outside. Outside, you walk to Agathon's car and drive back over the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan, heading for Agathon's haven. Juno mentions some very personal things. I trust your discretion is not discussing those things with Aisling. Your love life is your business. Thank you. After a while, you reach Agathon's haven, and he parks the car. You walk to the occult bookstore, and Agathon invites you inside. The smell of incense assaults you as before, making you grateful you don't have to breathe. You follow Agathon upstairs and find Aisling Sturbridge in an armchair reading an old book. She puts a bookmark in place as you come in. You were successful, I hope? No, I'm sorry. The notes were there at some point, but not anymore. That's a shame. I hope you don't run out of time. How did Sophie's little protege do? Agathon turns to look at you. Well, surprisingly well. That's a surprise. I have to compliment Sophie on her choice. We met Juno. Fortunately, she couldn't find the notes either. That's interesting. The High Regent turns to look at you. What was your impression of Juno, fledgling? She's very driven, motivated. I don't think she'll desist easily. You're probably right. Juno could have made a great member of our house in different circumstances. Instead, she became a headache. You'll understand if you have children of your own some night, fledgling. Anyway, I have some things to discuss with Agathon. Run along now. You leave the occult bookstore, the cheesy, mystical music still in your ears as you walk away. You wonder about what happened with Juno. Why is she so anxious to leave her clan? Can she really do that? Can you leave Sophie's service if you want to? Unfortunately, we do need to rest. So, let's check out to see the 2 new words that we've learned today, shall we, kindred? Blood bond. A mystical enforced relationship between a vampire and another, mortal or kindred. Drinking the blood of a vampire directly from the veins 3 times creates an intense loyalty in the drinker, resembling infatuation or obsession. The bond loses its grip with time, but is reinforced by repeated drinks from the donor vampire. Neonate, a young kindred recently embraced, but more than a fledgling. Alrighty, people. As I said before, this is exactly where we are going to leave off, so please, if you are enjoying this, like. If you know someone who might enjoy as well, share. And if you would like to see more content, subscribe. I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and this has been a reading of Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. We're doing a Brujah run. Good evening.